Stories of such changemakers. Watch Changemakers on DD India.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. Israel steps up ground assault on Gaza. Biden urges Netanyahu to protect civilian lives in the enclave. UN Security Council to hold an emergency meeting at UAE's request to discuss the situation in Gaza. Russian Defense Minister says ready for talks if the West stops seeking its strategic defeat. And US announces new rules for use of AI and sets standards for data privacy and cybersecurity. First up, the latest on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Heavy clashes continue as Israeli tanks reach the outskirts of Gaza City. The death toll has crossed 8,300, a large part of them being children. 40 trucks carrying humanitarian relief have crossed into the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society received the supplies, including food and medicines. A total of 118 trucks have entered the Gaza Strip as of Sunday. The Israeli side has still not allowed fuel into the enclave, which is hampering the functioning of generator-powered hospitals. As Israel expands its ground offensive on the Hamas in Gaza, tensions remain high at Israel's northern border with Lebanon, where the Israeli military and the Hezbollah exchange fire. Some Israeli communities near the border have since been evacuated. This comes as Israeli tanks remain stationed along the border with Lebanon. Mourners came together on Monday to hold a procession in memory of 4 persons who were killed by the Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank city of Jenin. Israel conducted a raid that resulted in the deaths of 4 Palestinians and left numerous others injured. Amidst these tensions and the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said that Netanyahu government does not seek to expand the fighting beyond Gaza, but he added that Israel remains prepared on all fronts. Now, Monday is day 24 of the Israel-Hamas war. The crisis in Gaza has deepened after the Israeli army kept up its ground assault on the enclave. It's displaced thousands more internally. The UN has once again called for a ceasefire or pause in fighting.
Hundreds of families in Gaza have taken shelter in these tents of Khan Yunis. When it rains, it drips onto the people beneath them. These people have little access to food and water.
We suffered a lot. We cannot handle it anymore. We wish we had died under the rubble just to find some rest. Our life is torture. Since yesterday, I haven't had any bread. Can a child wait for bread? Where do I get bread? It's catastrophic.
Israeli military has called Palestinians to evacuate the northern Gaza Strip in view of the ongoing ground offensive. Hospitals have also received warning to evacuate, but thousands injured are receiving treatments. Many of them are in emergency wards.
We have received various warnings today. They mentioned that this area is going to be a military zone, that there will be clashes and the area will be dangerous, and that we have to evacuate quickly.
Humanitarian aid supplies to Gaza have been severely disrupted. A grim picture of despair emerged from UN warehouses and distribution centers where people were seen looting boxes and bags of food aid. On the other side of the border, families of people taken hostage by Hamas are eagerly waiting for their loved ones. The United Nations has called for immediate release of hostages in Gaza and a humanitarian ceasefire.
The world is witnessing a humanitarian catastrophe taking place before our eyes. More than 2 million people with nowhere safe to go are being denied the essentials for life: food, water, shelter, and medical care, while being subjected to relentless bombardments. I urge all those with responsibility to step back from the brink. And I reiterate my appeal for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, the unconditional release of all hostages.
Adding to international concern, the International Committee of the Red Cross has also called for a temporary ceasefire and the establishment of more sustainable aid assistance to the Gaza Strip.
Humanitarian pause is urgently needed in Gaza to save more lives.
Thousands of lives have been lost in the conflict. People have been displaced. West Asia is on the brink of a major humanitarian crisis. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
All right, I want you to come with me and join my colleague who is standing by in Jerusalem, Amritpal Singh. Amrit, if you are with us and can hear me, what more can you tell us about a stabbing attack in Jerusalem? Now, this even as Israel continues to pound Gaza. Israeli airstrikes are reported to have hit areas near Gaza City's Shifa and Al-Quds hospitals.
That's right. This stabbing incident happened in the morning in Jerusalem. As you know, in Jerusalem, especially in Old Jerusalem, there are, in the walled city, there are basically quarters divided. There's an Arab quarter where basically the Muslim Arab population lives. There's a Jewish quarter. There's an Armenian quarter. There's a Christian quarter. So when war happens, or when such kind of conflict flares up, tensions understandably go up there. So one man was found, stabbed, and when they received the call, he was found stabbed. Now they are finding out. The police will be issuing details, more details about it. The only thing that they've issued is that this incident took place and a man was stabbed. As far as the situation in the Gaza Strip goes, tanks have reached right outside the Gaza city, which is in northern Gaza. Al-Quds and Al-Shifa hospitals, which are one of the biggest hospitals, places near them have been bombed. The IDF has asked people, their planes are constantly throwing their choppers, and helicopters are constantly throwing leaflets there, asking people to move out, move south. In fact, a couple of days back, they had issued a warning saying that those who do not move out will be treated as collaborators of the Hamas. So clearly, and they released a signals intelligence footage where they said that the Hamas was using the underground basements of Al-Shifa Hospital and Al-Quds hospitals as their operational bases, and they were looking at bombing. So they've been telling people to move out. But the problem really is that a lot of people who are hit by the shelling by the Israeli forces are admitted there, and also because there are big facilities, a lot of people have taken shelter. There are literally tent cities coming come up near these hospitals where relatives who take care of these people or have moved out in the open because, they are moving away from the built-up area into open areas. Now, that bombardment goes on, tanks have reached the outskirts of the Gaza city. They've stopped there. They've cut off the road access into Gaza city. So the sense that we are getting is that they would be closing in into the Gaza city for an operation perhaps tonight. And that was the reason why they cut off, telecommunication services so that communication doesn't pass, internet services. Some part of it has been restored. We are in the southern part, but not completely. I was talking to some.
In fact, Amrit, just to come back to that point you were making about telecom services in Gaza, have internet, mobile telephony, or electricity services been restored in Gaza as we speak?
Only some parts of Gaza, okay. Mostly the southern part of Gaza, we hear some telephone connectivity is restored. These are the landlines. Mobile towers, we still believe there is very less connectivity. Internet is down. So that's what we are hearing, because I was talking to a Gazan who had, come, who is in West Bank, and I met him and interviewed him, and he had come to Gaza before, he had come to West Bank before the 7th October attacks happened. So he was telling me past 2 days that he could not speak with his family, but apparently he's been able to establish with one contact with one of his neighbors who has migrated to southern Gaza. So in southern Gaza there is some partial connectivity restored, but northern Gaza the connectivity is still there is no connectivity in northern Gaza as far as the telephone lines go. But honestly, that affects normal people, because the Hamas has satellite equipment with them, and they communicate. Their communications are on. The Hamas's communications are on. Ramesh.
Also, Amrit, Israel has carried out strikes against Syria and the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Now, you visited the Israel-Lebanon border. How's the situation there?
The situation is hotting up there along the Lebanon border. The Hezbollah has stepped up attacks, both missile and rocket attacks. Many of them are neutralized by the Israeli defense forces, by the anti-missile systems, and by anti-tank rocket missiles. They intercept them. Many of them explode in the air. Some of them have landed, according to the IDF, in open areas where, when I was there, I myself saw a live rocket hit into a hill. It missed a building which was, which seemed to be its intended target. But there is no loss of life, though, because mostly, 5 kilometers inside has been declared an army military zone, and people have been completely evacuated from there. In fact, if I can ask my camera person to show you, these are people who are from those villages who come to big cities like Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Haifa, etc., and they've been housed here. And in fact, there was a siren alarm a little while back, so all people had gathered here and into the safe bunkers or safe shelters, as they are called here. And talking about the Lebanon border, Hezbollah has stepped up attacks there, and the Israeli force, the Israeli Defense Force, is retaliating back by hitting their bases from where those projectiles are coming. The same with Golan Heights, which was quiet till now, but today Golan Heights, there were targets fired inside Golan Heights, which was, if you remember, before the 67 war was Syrian territory, but now since 67 is with the Israelis, and there were missiles and rockets fired into that, and the Israeli military has hit back in Syria as well, both at military and non-military targets. Ramesh.
All right, we leave it at that. Thank you, Amrit. Appreciate it. And still to come on DD India News Hour. An expert analysis on risks, consequences, and implications of an Israeli ground assault on Gaza. UN Security Council to discuss the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And Russia's defense minister Sergei Shoigu says Moscow ready for talks if the West stops seeking its strategic defeat.
National Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The grasslands and
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. The United Nations Security Council will hold an emergency meeting on Monday afternoon, New York time, to discuss the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It will be held at the request of the United Arab Emirates. The UN Security Council has failed in its attempts to stop the war in Gaza, as its members were unable to approve either the United States' resolution calling for a humanitarian pause or Russia's calling for an immediate ceasefire. And joining us is a very special guest, Brigadier Sharvendu. He joins us from New Delhi. Brigadier, welcome to DD India News Hour. Now, reports suggest that Israeli tanks have entered Gaza. We are told that phase 2 of Israel's ground assault has begun. What's the military objective here?
Yeah, as far as Gaza Strip is concerned, as you know, it is a thickly populated area, and the operation of tank in this restricted area is very, very difficult. But Israel army has overcome this. But for last around 24 days, they have been pounding, they have been shelling. There's a lot of rebels, and as far as resistance is concerned, in North Gaza as well as in Gaza City, as per their assessment, it has been reduced to the extent of more than 50 to 60%. That is how this ground operation, so-called second phase, has started, whereby armored column have entered northern Gaza as well as outskirts of Gaza City. And this ingression has taken place from two places. One is North Gaza Strip and second is the East Gaza. East Gaza, if you see, it is so geographically located that the distance to Gaza City becomes the minimal from there. And from these two entry points, armored columns have entered into the Gaza Strip and they are continuously pounding. And this thing has only possible once they have preponderance of airstrike as well as artillery, and when the tanks moves in this narrow street, they also keep pounding. So as per their assessment, initial 2 days, what they did, they went inside, fired and came back to the safe haven. Again, they went inside, fired and came to the safe haven. Now they have finally entered, and now the reports are saying that as they pounded, now they are out from outskirts of the Gaza City, they have again come back. So my point is that this ground operation going to continue for some more time if they want total elimination of Hamas. As far as various infrastructure is concerned, their communication center is concerned, their leadership is concerned, they have created substantial damage to Hamas.
Brigadier, just for the benefit of viewers joining us from India and around the world, what are the risks, consequences and implications of an Israeli ground assault on Gaza?
Like, as far as Israel is concerned, first I'll take their because they are on the initiative. There's the risk of getting lots of casualties more. Their tanks are getting by the shoulder-fired anti-tank missile is there. There may be lots of booby traps. They may suffer a lot of casualty. But since this weakness, they are trying to overcome by the pounding by the aircraft, artillery. So this thing is getting covered. But as far as Gaza Strip is concerned, as far as Palestinians are concerned, as far as civilians are concerned, it is a nightmare for them. They are suffering a lot. Lots of casualties taking place. There is a very difficult to identify who is Hamas fighter and who is the civilian, who is innocent. Right now, casualty in this kind of operation, especially in built-up area, is colossal. Lot of collateral damage takes place. Lot of children they get killed. Lot of elder people, and a lot of non-military installation gets targeted. So that is the worry that they have to minimize. How they minimize? By carrying out the selective targeting. But the moment they get to know that Hamas is in so-and-so building, they start firing. In that bargain, a lot of civilians are getting killed. And right now, there is no internet working. So their communication, Hamas communication is totally jeopardized. Now reports are coming, they started using walkie-talkie. So whatever measures you are adopting, they come out with some alternative. They are also fighting for a cause, so-called cause. Otherwise, Israel, when they enter into the built-up area, side by side, they also expecting a lot of casualty. But my point is, this hostility is to seize. Elimination of Hamas is totally 100% finishing of Hamas terrorists is not possible because they melt away. They melt away to other places. Now there is a report, there is a huge network of tunnels are there. How you counter that? How you neutralize that? The turns and twists of tunnels is known to only Hamas. They know how to operate it, where they have kept the arms caches are there, where the hostages are there. All these things are not known to the Israel army. So they are going for speculative, leading to lots of unnecessarily collateral damage.
Right. Brigadier, another question that's agitating many a mind around the world as we speak is the following. Does a state with an army have a different set of duties or obligations than, say, a non-state actor? In other words, do wars have rules too? And if there are, is Israel adhering to them?
Yeah, generally, when army operates, they have lots of do and don'ts. We go by the Geneva Convention, we go by the international laws, and we do not target the civilian areas. We do not target the hospitals. But of late, you must have seen this kind of rule was totally violated in Ukraine-Russia war, and same thing is happening here in Gaza Patti as well. When army is operating, they look for the destruction of leadership communication center. If any Hamas militant or terrorist is operating for their army is where within their legal authorized means to destroy them. But there happens to be civilian because it is so thickly populated. There is no difference between Hamas and civilian. They operate from the civilian bases like a school, hospital, religious places. That is why they are getting targeted. Now, Israel army is trying to reduce the collateral damage. They are trying to reduce the innocent should not be casualty, but it is just impossible because it is so thickly populated. The most congested area of the world is the Gaza Strip. So all these rules, although they must be trying to abide, but guarantee is not there. That's why a lot of civilian casualties are taking place.
Right. And finally, Brigadier, how real are the fears of a wider regional war that might include or involve other players in the region and beyond, including, for that matter, Iran?
Initially, when ground operation was not launched, everybody said the day you launch the ground operation, probably war will escalate. Other state player will also enter. These state players include Lebanon, Syria, and Iran, and to some extent Iraq. But it has not happened. Today is the third day of the ground operation. Probably all countries are aware. Probably they are also being threatened, or their national interest does not dictate that they should directly get involved in this war. If this war is to continue for a longer period of time, if war is not going to subside now, if Palestinian cause is to continue and give them an independent nation, then this war is to continue till the logical conclusion. If they get involved in the right now, then it will escalate to a different level. So my assessment of the thing is this: probably all these countries will not get directly involved. Their cause is totally supported by the Hamas as well as Hezbollah. This kind of local action will continue, and direct invasion by Iran or third country like Syria and Lebanon may not take place because US army is there to support, and they said that it is their total unstinted support to the Israel. So probably that thing is playing up in their mind, and plus war reaching into their area is also there. Therefore, everybody is cautioned, and probably my assessment says that this kind of indirect support will continue, and direct invasion or direct involvement of these kind of nation may not take place in days to come.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Brigadier Shardindu, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Now the news, hundreds of anti-Israel protesters stormed Russia's Dagestan airport in the western part of the country. Police officers arrested 60 people. More than 20 were injured in the demonstration. The protests began after the landing of an airliner from Tel Aviv. The Russian Aviation Authority has since closed the airport for flights until it completes security checks. And DD India's Dasha Chernyshova filed this report from Moscow. Take a listen.
Well, we have seen the flurry of condemnation and criticism from the Russian officials, all saying that that is absolutely unacceptable. They have been calling for restraint, for peace, and for the attempts to remain calm in this very difficult period of time. At the same time, some Russian authorities have been saying that that is an incident that has been perpetrated from outside, stressing that the coordination of that rally, of that riot, has been taking place in the Telegram channel, which is operated from Ukraine. So the Russian authorities have unanimously criticized the protesters, saying that this was amounting to the terrorism activities and this should not be repeated. We also understand that some Russian officials have been saying that it is absolutely detrimental at this very period of time when Russia is also holding on its so-called special military operation in Ukraine, and all of the efforts of those riders should have been not in that place and not at that time. At the same time, obviously, we have seen a lot of criticism from the Russian officials stressing that the authorities should not allow that to happen once again. Of course, there are many questions as to why that did happen, and the authorities are trying to stress that that is an isolated incident and that is not the malaise that is spreading around the Russian society, as for instance the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has been hinting. So the isolated incident is probably the right description of that incident, but at the same time the Russian authorities are saying that this should not be repeated, and again there is a trace of outside influence in what has happened.
In more news about Russia, the country's defense minister Sergei Shoigu told a military forum in Beijing, China, that Moscow is ready for talks on the post-conflict settlement of the Ukraine crisis. He added that Russia is also ready for talks on further coexistence with the West.
Russia is open to discussing and resolving any security issues if this dialogue is honest, fair, and based on mutual respect of the contracting parties. However, without the West reconsidering its destructive line, which implies inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia, hardly any fruitful negotiations in this area are possible. However, should the necessary conditions be created, we remain ready for political discussions on realistic grounds, both on the post-conflict settlement of the Ukrainian crisis and on the parameters of further coexistence with the West as a whole.
For its part, China has advocated that both China and the United States should have an objective understanding of each other's strategic intentions and take the correct view of competitive factors in future exchanges. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson made this remark when asked about China's top diplomat Wang Yi, saying that the road to a meeting between the country's leaders in San Francisco would not be smooth. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi called on US President Joe Biden and his top aides in Washington, D.C. recently, where they agreed to work together. Take a look at some more stories making news around the world. For the first time, the United States has started purchasing Japanese seafood to supply its military in the country. It's a response to China's ban on the products imposed after the Japan released treated water from its Fukushima nuclear plant into the sea. Police in Spain seized 720 kilograms of cocaine hidden among scrap metal in a truck from Costa Rica in the southern Spanish city of Malaga. 8 people were arrested across the Andalusian region. Serbian President Alexander Vučić met with French, Italian and German leaders in Brussels on the margins of an EU summit to discuss pathways for de-escalating tensions with Pristina in Kosovo. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his wife Akshatha Murthy met fundraisers from the Armed Forces charity, the Royal British Legion. The couple purchased poppy pins worn in the UK to commemorate Remembrance Day, a tradition where poppies are worn to honour soldiers who died in the war. And still to come on DD India News Hour. South Korea and the US hold large-scale joint military drills involving stealth warplanes. Biden unveils US government's first ever executive order on artificial intelligence. And India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh addresses the Goa Maritime Conclave. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. Israel steps up ground assault on Gaza as Biden urges Netanyahu to protect civilian lives in the enclave. UN Security Council to hold an emergency meeting at UAE's request to discuss the situation in Gaza. And Russian defense minister says ready for talks if the West stops seeking Moscow's strategic defeat. The US and South Korea are holding large-scale joint drills involving stealth planes to boost their joint capabilities this week. It comes amid growing concerns about North Korean threats to regional stability. DD India's Patrick Falk has the details.
Well, the vigilant defense exercises will last until Friday, and they're described as mega drills involving 130 aircraft from both countries, including South Korean F-35A fighter jets, as well as American F-18 fighters that are normally based in Japan. And the drills are designed to enhance combined military capabilities and come amidst North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. They also come following a week of joint combat training between the US and South Korea at the Korea Combat Training Center in an area that appeared to simulate fighting in Pyongyang. And this involved high-tech weapon systems, including drones carrying weapons, as well as unmanned vehicles, and are part of efforts by both countries to modernize combat capabilities. It's also significant because it comes amid heightened tensions between China and the Philippines in the South China Sea.
In more news about the US has unveiled an extensive executive order on artificial intelligence aimed at tackling immigration, safety and boosting technological advancements. US President Joe Biden issued a landmark executive order to ensure that the US leads the way in seizing the promise and managing the risks of artificial intelligence. The executive order establishes new standards for AI safety and security, protects US nationals' privacy, advances equity and civil rights, stands up for consumers and workers, promotes innovation and competition, advances U.S. leadership around the world, and much more. The order mandates assessments for advanced AI models used by U.S. government workers and facilitate the entry of skilled workers. Now, this comes as the U.S. government seeks to regulate AI amidst global concerns and ahead of an international summit on AI risks. The order would also require U.S. government agencies, including defense and intelligence, to evaluate the integration of AI into their work with a focus on cybersecurity. While the EU is working on its own regulations, the US is in early stages of developing a bipartisan legislation on artificial intelligence.
Governments across the globe are taking decisive action to regulate the advancement of AI due to concerns about its misuse, threats, and potential risks. Australia, the UK, China are developing codes, regulations, and safety institutes to prevent deepfakes, AI-generated child sexual abuse material, and breaches.
Get this wrong, and AI could make it easier to build chemical or biological weapons. Terrorist groups could use AI to spread fear and destruction on an even greater scale. And in the most unlikely but extreme cases, there is even the risk that humanity could lose control of AI completely.
Meanwhile, the European Union is nearing an agreement on new AI rules and has initiated the development of a voluntary code of conduct to enhance global AI governance standards. Multiple countries, including France, G7, Italy, and Japan, are also considering regulatory measures. Spain's Data Protection Agency is investigating potential AI-related data breaches. While in the United States, the government is set to unveil an executive order on AI that will require assessments of advanced AI models before the use by federal workers, emphasizing responsible implementation. The United Nations and India aim for international collaboration in establishing ethical frameworks and global agencies for responsible AI usage. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for a global framework on the expansion of ethical AI tools. These regulatory efforts by international organizations, countries, and regions underscore the recognition of the importance of responsible AI governance. The aim is to ensure the ethical and secure use of AI, promoting innovation while safeguarding against potential risks. Sujata Lochab for DD India.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres visited the Himalayan regions to witness the devastating impact of climate change. The UN chief, who is on a 4-day visit to Nepal, urged the world to stop the madness of climate change and limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees.
I'm here to cry out from the rooftop of the world, stop the madness. The glaciers are retreating, but we cannot. We must end the fossil fuel age. We must act now to protect people on the front line and to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees to avert the worst of climate chaos. The world cannot wait.
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman addressed a global conference on cooperation in enforcement matters organized by the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence in New Delhi on Monday. The minister said the conference should provide many practical ideas in the area of prevention and deterrence.
Important silo which I want to talk about, and I keep referring it to a silo, but not to mean that it is so watertight that we cannot have things shared from it and into it, is the prevention and deterrence. Prevention of illegal trade, prevention of smuggling, prevention of those which are not at all desirable for any country's sovereign authority. And in prevention, deterrence is now a word which I would like to add. Almost you would say mean the same, but no, deterrence is also strengthened by the fact that you are alert, you've held back some of these smuggled goods, and you show a dedication and commitment to completely destroy what you've caught and not again put it into the market in one or the other way, even though it may be legitimate. So prevention and deterrence is that particular area in which I would think this global conference on cooperation in enforcement matter should give a lot of workable ideas.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has called for establishing multinational collaborative mitigation frameworks in the Indian Ocean region to effectively tackle common maritime challenges such as climate change, piracy, terrorism, drug trafficking, overfishing and freedom of commerce on high seas. He was delivering the keynote address at the 4th edition of Goa Maritime Conclave on Monday.
The optimal outcome often involves cooperation and building trust among nations, but the fear of being taken advantage of or acting alone in the hostile world can lead to suboptimal decisions. The challenge is to find solutions that promote cooperation, build trust, and mitigate the risk associated with the prisoner's dilemma situations in international relations. Hence, it is important for the country to build trust between them so that optimally collaborative interaction is possible for our mitigation frameworks.
The air quality in India's capital, New Delhi, and surrounding areas remain in the very poor category for the third consecutive day on Monday. The Pollution Monitoring Agency recorded the air quality index at 322 with PM10 levels on Monday. The authorities have urged commuters to use public transport and avoid private vehicles while directing the government to increase the availability of electric buses and metro trains. People complained of a burning sensation in the eyes and low sunlight.
There are many reasons of pollution like vehicular and industrial emissions and dust, due to which I have trouble breathing and feel as if something is stuck in my throat.
And now take a look at some other stories making news in India. In another development in the Kaveri water dispute, the Kaveri Water Regulation Committee, or the CWRC, has recommended Karnataka to release 2,600 cusecs of water per day to Tamil Nadu at Biligundu town from 1st November to 15th November. The Central's Vigilance Commission is observing the Vigilance Awareness Week 2023 from 30th October to 5th November. The theme for the week is Say No to Corruption, Commit to the Nation. Coal India subsidiary South Eastern Coalfields Limited, or SECL, has achieved 100 million ton empty coal dispatch for financial year 2023-24. Now, this makes it the fastest 100th metric ton coal dispatch achieved by Chhattisgarh-based company since its inception. Coal production in India has also shown a growth of 12.81% compared to the same period last year, according to the Ministry of Coal. Now, DD India's Jessica Taneja spoke to the Director General of Meteorology, Mrityunjay Mahapatra, in New Delhi. Take a listen.
While there are many factors that contribute to Delhi's worsening air pollution, one among them this year is less rain. Less rains are contributing to more air pollution. Could you explain in detail as to how that works out?
Yes, in the month of October, Delhi has not experienced much rainfall activity. The last time when Delhi got rainfall is on 16th of October. Thereafter, there has been no rain. So when it rains, it helps in dispersing the pollution and putting it down on the surface. In addition to that, there has been no movement of a significant western disturbance during, say, past 10 days. As a result, there has been no such rainfall activity over Delhi.
Do we expect relief after 5 days or a week? As you said, Delhi is going to be dry, so are we going to expect anything, any showers anytime soon?
As of now, we are not expecting any rainfall during 5 to 7 days. But after this favorable western disturbance, which is expected to move across northwest India during 31st October to 2nd November, another western disturbance is expected on 7th of November. That will be a little more intense. Maybe it may help to some extent at that time.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches development projects in the state of Gujarat. Indian Foreign Minister meets families of Indians on death row in Qatar. And 3 killed in blasts in the southern Indian state of Kerala. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched development projects worth nearly $700 million in the western state of Gujarat on Monday. The projects are in sectors such as rail, road, drinking water and irrigation. India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar met the families of the 8 Indians detained in Qatar. He said that the government attaches the highest importance to the case and fully shares the concerns and pain of the families. He underlined that the government will continue to make all efforts to secure their release and will coordinate closely with the families in this regard. Meanwhile, Indian Navy Chief Admiral R. Harikumar also said efforts are being made to get relief for the former Indian Navy personnel.
Every effort is being made by the government to ensure that we take up through the legal course and find relief for our personnel.
A series of blasts at a prayer meeting in the southern Indian state of Kerala's Kalamassery has killed at least 3 people and left several critically injured. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan declared the formation of a special 20-member team to conduct a thorough investigation. Meanwhile, an all-party meeting was held in the Kerala Government Secretariat.
Last night also, people were coming to the casualty and all. So around 60 people sought treatment from different hospitals. Some of them were under observation. Some of them had very superficial minor burns. And so they, around 60 people who were injured were brought to the different hospitals, casualties, and one was brought dead. The priority of the government at present is to save the lives. So we are giving maximum support, maximum possible. We have burns unit here, we have burns unit at our different hospitals, and also maximum best possible treatment is being given to the patient.
The 76th session of the World Health Organization Regional Committee for Southeast Asia was held in New Delhi. The 75 years of WHO to protect, promote and support health and well-being globally and in Southeast Asia were discussed in the meeting.
In India, we are following a holistic and inclusive approach. We are expanding health infrastructure, promoting traditional systems of medicines, and providing affordable health care to all. Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission and Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission, which have strengthened the digital health framework and physical infrastructure and have catalyzed a revolutionary strengthening of the healthcare delivery in the nation.
A trial run of the Akhora-Agartala rail link was conducted on Monday. It was for the first time the locomotive engine attached with 4 wagons entered the Indian territory of Tripura. The ambitious Agartala-Akhora rail project will be flagged off by Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi and his Bangladesh counterpart Sheikh Hasina on the 1st of November. Upon operationalization of the Agartala-Akhora rail link project, the distance will reduce by around 500 kilometers and travel time will be 16 hours between Agartala and Kolkata. In addition, the rail link will also provide a direct access between landlocked northeastern India and the Chittagong port of Bangladesh. And now to all the news from the world of sport. Well, India beat England by 100 runs in a low-scoring thriller on Sunday to register their 6th consecutive win at Cricket World Cup 2023. Mohammad Shami, with his 4 for 22, shone with the ball as India successfully defended a total of 229 for 9 against the defending champions. Jasprit Bumrah starred with figures of 3 for 32, while skipper Rohit Sharma did the heavy lifting with the bat. More in the next report.
India defeated England by 100 runs in the ICC Cricket World Cup in Lucknow to register their 6th consecutive win. Indian pacers Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Shami wreaked havoc to defend India's below-par score of 229 runs and hand England their 5th loss in the tournament. England put India to bat first after winning the toss. India, who were batting first for the first time in the tournament, got off to a rather shaky start with the bat, having lost opener Shubman Gill and Virat Kohli in the first power play phase, while Gill was cleaned up in the 4th over by Chris Woakes. Virat Kohli, who had a tremendous tournament so far, got out on a duck. However, Rohit Sharma then led from the front with a knock of 87 of 101 deliveries as he forged a 91-run stand with KL Rahul for the 4th wicket. Rahul made 39 runs before he lost his wicket in the 31st over. Rohit looked to carry on following Rahul's dismissal, but was caught by Liam Livingstone in the deep in the 37th over of Adil Rashid's ball, being dismissed for 87. Rohit had forged a 33-run stand with Surya Kumar Yadav before the former got dismissed. Sky then ensured that India's scoreboard get ticking and forged 25 runs with Jasprit Bumrah before being caught by Woakes at D point in the 47th over. In the end, it was the duo of Bumrah and Kuldeep Yadav who forged 21 runs, who took India to a respectable total. David Willey finished with 3 wickets, while Chris Woakes and Adil Rashid finished with 2 wickets. Mark Wood claimed 1 wicket. Having put up a below-par total, India needed early wickets to put pressure on a struggling England batting unit. Chasing mere 229, England, who didn't had good of start in all their games, suffered another collapse. Bumrah and Shami hunted in tandem to deal a decisive blow, leaving England at 39 for 4 in the 10th over. Shami took 4 for 22, while Bumrah took 3 for 32, as they stole the show with the ball for the unstoppable hosts, as England batters once again cut a sorry figure, as they slumped 229 all out in 34.5 overs for their 5th loss in 6 games. England are virtually out of semi-final contention. This is their 4th consecutive loss and 5th overall. With this win, India moved to the top of the league table, being the only unbeatable side in the tournament. Abhishek Mahajan's report, DD India, Lucknow.
To football now, Manchester City registered a dominant Derby Day victory at neighbours Manchester United on Sunday. The 3-0 win at Old Trafford took the defending champions up to 3rd place, 2 points behind Premier League leaders Tottenham. Champions Napoli came back from 2 goals down to rescue a 2-2 draw at home against AC Milan in Serie A. They preserved their top 4 spot in the standings. Napoli winger Matteo Politano and forward Giacomo Raspadori both scored after the break to cancel out 2 goals deficit. The game got off to a lively start and Giroud had an early chance, but a shot from close range was cleared by Napoli's defence. The Frenchman made no mistake when he broke the deadlock for Milan in the 22nd minute, nodding home the opener from an assist by Christian Pulisic. Luis Rubiales, the former president of the Spanish Football Association, has been banned from all football-related activities for 3 years by FIFA's disciplinary committee. The Zurich-based World Football governing body did not publish details of the verdict reached by its disciplinary committee, which had investigated charges relating to basic rules of decent conduct and behaving in a way that brings the sport of football and/or FIFA into disrepute, the report said. The former Spanish football chief can request a verdict within 10 days and then file an appeal to FIFA, the World Soccer body said. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.